Hi, I'm Greg Brown.
I'm David Ivy, and this is Dynamic Discussions.
This is another installment in a weekly video series that we're bringing to you, answering your questions about fall protection gear and the environment that you use it in. As always, we have Kaylee Lang with our marketing department, and she's here with this week's question.
The question for this week is working in fall restraint better than working in fall arrest?
David, I'll let you take that one.
So yeah, if you follow the hierarchy controls, if you can restrain, if you can work on restraint, it's much better than fall arrest because when you're working in restraint, you're removing the fall hazard. So you're not able to fall over an edge or off of a working surface while you're in fall restraint.
Yeah, there's a couple different kinds of fall restraint. The one that's most popular on most job sites is fall restraint, which would be passive, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So that would be if you have a guardrail or something that works as a guardrail setup, and then you do not wear a safety harness. You just kind of work in your area, and then there are certain parameters in which the guardrail has to meet per OSHA standards. And tell us a little bit about those standards.
So with the passive systems, you use something like guardrail. So with the guardrail, you have mobile bases. You can mount them into wood, concrete, just depending on the surface you're working on. With those, you're required to be able to withstand a 200-pound outward force and downward force. They typically have a top rail, mid rail, and sometimes a toe board, just kind of depending on their work and the environment.
Yeah, there's a ton of different options. You can have mobile, you can have permanent, you can have ones that fold and lie down so people don't see them. You can have some that are way more aesthetically pleasing than others. Construction or permanent usage, and passive fall protection is a wide game, and they've got a lot of good products there.
And then you also have active fall restraint. So what that means is you're wearing a safety harness, but then you have let's say a non-shock absorbing lanyard. So it's kind of like a dog leash. If you're 4 foot from an edge, you'll have a 2 to 3 foot lanyard so you can't get to the edge. So that's kind of what you're using in a active fall restraint system.
You can anchor yourself to a lot of different things. You can do a single anchor point. We talk about these as a roof a lot because it makes a lot of sense. It's an easy visual. You can use them with an engineered fall protection system and use it only in restraint. So just imagine, I like to explain this as a dog on a leash in a yard. So if your yard is your roof and if your neighbor's yard is your fall hazard, what you want to do is make sure that the leash you have on your dog doesn't allow them to get to the neighbor's yard and tear up their stuff. So you can put them on a big thing where they can go back and forth just as long as they can't get to the fall hazard. So that's the one that I like to use, and that's a good description, I think, of active fall protection.
And then the last case here, we're talking about fall arrest. So when you're in fall arrest, that means you can fall. So you're working on a roof or somewhere where you can get to the edge, and if you were to make it to the edge, you could tumble over the edge. So that is fall arrest. So
yes, so we teach the hierarchy of fall protection, and number one is you want to remove the hazard. You don't want to have to work in restraint or fall arrest. If you can't do that, then please work in restraint first. If you have the ability to be passive, that's good. If you have the ability to work in active fall restraint, that's better than exposing yourself to a fall, regardless of if you have the right gear to arrest your fall.